the media and politicians and diplomats never stop talking about Muslim migrants. They call them Syrian refugees. Most aren't Syrian, most aren't true refugees. But ignored are the Christian refugees who are actually at risk of genocide.
The Pentagon war planners have rightfully said that 90% of modern warfare is informational. That's why it's more important than ever that all of you watching subscribe on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter at Real Alex Jones, because InfoWars is the front line of the fight. And without your help and support, we will fail. With your support and with your prayers, we will be victorious against the globalists together. Now, joining us is an individual who was successful in libertarian conservative media in Canada. And of course, Inside Shenanigans went on to blow that up. And he joins us, Ezra Levant, founded the Rebel.media. It reaches hundreds of millions of people now every month. And they've had their share of folks trying to censor them and shut them down. They're international. I really admire their lineup of folks, from Tommy Morrison right through to Gavin McInnes and so many others. Again, I'm not in competition with the Rebel. I'm glad they're there. We're in this together. TheRebel.media, it's subscription-based, just like you buy our products to support us. You just subscribe with them, and you're building a new media. And the more of us there are, the better. The safer it is. So he just got back. We almost sent Joe Biggs to do this, but it fell through. And other groups are involved to go in with former special forces and some patriots. We'll just leave it at that. I know about other groups, not this particular one. But I know for a fact Eric Prince does good stuff out there. They call him a mercenary. He's not, in my view. He's exposing the pedophile rings, you name it. I don't know if that's the group financed him. But to go in and actually save Christians being murdered, slaughtered, put into sex slavery in the few cities left that ISIS/Al-Qaeda has control of. So that's something I know Eric Prince has been doing for years behind the scenes, saving thousands and thousands of Christians every few months. Well, this gentleman went into Iraq, into the most dangerous areas. Ezra Levant, he just got back. So, again, we want to thank him for his courage and what he's doing to talk about this. And the Washington Post saying Trump's a Russian agent today, basically, for going along with the Pentagon program that's 5 years old of not backing ISIS and telling the Democrats no. They're now saying that that's a Russian program helping Moscow, that we're not backing the Wahhabist ISIS, al-Nusra, al-Qaeda. Well, you just came back from there where they admittedly sometimes rape little girls to death. So Ezra Levant, founder of the Rebel.media, thanks for joining us.
Well, Alex, it's a pleasure to be here. And first of all, thank you for your kind words about the Rebel. You're a real trailblazer in alternative media, and that's what we need these days, to cover stories that are off the official narrative. And Alex, the media and politicians and diplomats never stop talking about Muslim migrants. They call them Syrian refugees. Most aren't Syrian, most aren't true refugees. But ignored are the Christian refugees who are actually at risk of genocide. Here's a quick fact for you. In 2017, the official United Nations budget to help Muslim refugees is $4.7 billion. But no one is waging a genocide against Muslims. There's no ethnic cleansing of Muslims, but there is ethnic cleansing of Christians in the Middle East. And they're not even allowed to go to these UN refugee camps, because those UN refugee camps are dominated by Muslim extremists. The Christians, if they flee there, will be violently assaulted there. So these Christians are forgotten. And we went to these ancient Christian towns where they're literally being ethnically cleansed by Muslim terrorists.
Break it down, because this is simply amazing. These are the forgotten people.
Yeah. I mean, these are ancient Christians who actually still pray in Aramaic. That is Jesus's language. Some of these Christian communities have been there for 1,400, 1,500, 1,600 years. And it used to be a Christian area, just like Egypt used to be Christian, just like Turkey used to be Christian. Istanbul used to be called Constantinople. But over time, wave after wave of Muslim jihad has ethnically cleansed the Christians. They kill the men and they take the women as rape slaves, because that is officially permitted in the Quran. And so we I met a Yazidi woman in Germany when I was on another trip. Yazidis are not Christians. They're not Muslims. They're an individual ethnicity, but they have blonde hair and blue eyes, Alex. So the Muslim terrorists prize these women as rape slaves. I met a Yazidi rape slave who said she lost track after she was raped 240 times. And you have to understand, in the Islamic State, that's not a crime. That's actually officially sanctioned. That's one of the ways they pay their terrorists, is in stolen property.
And Linda Sarsour won't even come out and criticize it.
No, and what breaks my heart, Alex, is I went to these Christian towns and I saw these all Christian refugee camps. These people are completely ignored. Politicians, the media, diplomats, NGOs, they favor the Muslim refugees, but they ignore the Christians. I say we've got to sort the lambs from the wolves, Alex. Most of the people flooding into Europe are not lambs, they're wolves.
Well, even Interpol admitted 80% are military-age men, but expanding on that, I've seen the statistics where less than 1%, in fact, it was just a few sub-points, of the refugees are Christian. And then Obama, jokingly about a year ago, said, well, we just can't only let in the Christians, we got to let in the Muslims. But in truth, he laughed about it because he knows the UN program discriminates and doesn't even let Christians get out because they're slated for extermination. Why is that?
Well, it goes back to the Quran. The Quran talks about converting any infidels. And so when we were in Iraq, we saw an Islamic State edict. Remember, the Islamic State, it's like a proto-country. So they have judicial announcements that are called fatwas. And any Christians in these little towns that have been there for more than 1,000 years, Alex, they're given an ultimatum: either flee, pay the jizya tax of submission, or be killed by the sword. So this is rooted in the Quran. And they kill the men, they rape the women. I went to a church in the little Christian town of Batnaya that was conquered by ISIS, held for 2 years, and only recently liberated. The Christians have not yet returned to this ancient town. I went into the church and I saw anti-Christian graffiti like, "We will kill you, leave or be killed, this is Muslim property, there are no Christians allowed in the Islamic State." It was written in Arabic, but it was also written in German. And that tells me, Alex, that there were German Muslims who went to Iraq to rape and plunder and desecrate these churches.
And under this whole Islamic rebellion, Arab Spring that the Democrats, the globalists, the NATO and others, and the UN have been behind publicly, military-aged men go like on Hajj, basically, but jihad, where it's like a pillaging, raping vacation where they go out to earn their bones and have their rites of passage, raping, killing, murdering. I mean, this is all admitted, and the UN brags that this is all part of their replacement plan for Europeans. I mean, why is the left so in love with Orthodox Islam?
Well, I suppose it's the same reason that the left was so sympathetic to the Soviets during the Cold War. Leftists always side with the most acute enemy of Western civilization. Until the fall of the Berlin Wall, leftists sided with the Soviets. Because they thought, well, that's the counterweight to Western civilization. Today, it's radical Islam. So it's not just that the radical Islam is an enemy of the West. It also is an opportunity for these virtue-signaling leftists to show how open-minded they are, that they will tolerate their own enemies. What's so ironic to me, and this is what I never understand.
That's why we've seen a lot of these leftist women go to be the sex pleasure objects, including quite attractive women from all over Europe and the U.S., go to literally live in fleas and ticks with guys that wipe their butts with their left hands and just stink like pig demons. But women just go and worship the filthiness and worship the fleas and ticks and lice. I'm not kidding. These women are just loving this because I guess they're so cuckolded from men groveling and kissing their butts in the West and putting them on a pedestal. They don't like that. But to be savagely just treated like slaves, they love it.
It's terrifying. In Mosul, which is the big city that the Islamic State recently lost to Allied forces. There were some Canadian women who voluntarily went out there. They either go to be halal prostitutes to service these men, or they're duped in some way, or they want to be part of the jihad. It's really troubling. But you make a good point. A lot of these terrorists, they come from the West, go to Syria and Iraq. They get a taste of terrorism, rape, murder, defacing Christian objects.
And then they come back to Europe and go to the anti-racism concerts to openly rape, and the police just stand there and guard the raping. And then judges rule, well, this is a Muslim. He's allowed to rape. It's his culture.
Well, and the thing is, they're coming back as battle-hardened veterans in a way, because they did it in Iraq and Syria, so they've tasted blood. And whatever moral compunction they might have had, they're over it. So they're numb to violence. They love it. They practice it. And now they've returned to the West. And throughout Europe, and we've seen this, terrorist attacks in Belgium and France in particular have been from ISIS terrorists who learned their trade in Iraq and Syria and have come back to the West.
And you know what's crazy? We have Ezra Levant, the founder of the Rebel.media, amazing television radio network, news site that's reaching tens of millions a day now. We're not exaggerating. I can't come up with words to describe how much worse it is than we're saying, because by the minute more insanity comes out. I mean, we have videos in Sweden and Germany of them holding women down and lines of men raping them, and the police are 50 feet away and do nothing. I mean, I mean, they literally rape little kids in pools, and the police say, well, that's their culture. I mean, it is just insane asylum. I'm just wondering. And then meanwhile, they're saying Trump's a Russian agent because he just killed the Obama program to arm ISIS. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Ezra Levant from the Rebel.media, the founder of it. We should have him back on soon about his whole story, you know, having a successful kind of the Fox News of Canada, but more libertarian, how that all got shut down even though it was successful. And he started this a year and a half ago or so. But just getting back to Iraq and what's happening as the final cities of the liberal, globalist, Saudi Arabian-backed ISIS fall, we have the Washington Post saying Trump ends covert CIA program to arm anti-Assad rebels in Syria, a move sought by Moscow. Well, the Pentagon said stop doing it 5 years ago to Obama. So just because Russia's aligned, not wanting to back radical Islam, blowing up every church, sex slaving everyone, how does that make Trump bad? I mean, I've got Democrats all over the news now saying, no one's allowed to talk to Russians. Why, Trump at a dinner at the G20 talked to Putin. It was a dinner. They seated his wife by him. The G20 did it on purpose probably to say Trump was some agent. They're trying to paralyze the president. How do you think all this is going?
Yeah. Well, I tell you, it has been terrifying that all of these so-called militias in Syria, they have undermined Bashar Assad, who I'm not going to say he was a good man in any way, but he was at least a protector of the Christians. Same way, I mean, and without him, look at the anarchy. Same thing in Libya. Muammar Gaddafi, not a liberal civil rights lover like we expect in the West, but at least he held back the Islamist wave. Same with Hosni Mubarak in Egypt. So we made the perfect the enemy of the good. I'm not saying I would like to live under any of these Arab dictators, but the hell that was unleashed when they were toppled was far worse. And let me say, the Christian community in Iraq, it really is being ethnically cleansed. That's why we went over there. Alex, I'm a Jew. And so I looked at this ethnic genocide against Christians through the eyes of someone who understood the Holocaust. And I see so many analogies.
Or the Armenian genocide. It touches everybody's heart to just see people being, whole families hunted down, the men killed, the women raped, murdered, thrown away.
Well, and that's the thing. Armenia was just north of there. So these Christians have a really tough go. So we went there to document the Christian genocide and to bring a little bit of humanitarian relief. And if people want to see our videos, they can go to SaveTheChristians.com. We've put up about 15 videos, including from these destroyed churches. You can see them at SaveTheChristians.com. And if you want to help with our humanitarian efforts, you can do that too. and I want to tell the story of these Christians because so many people ignore it. They're obsessed with the Muslim refugees. No one's killing Muslims.
You're absolutely right. And again, the UN's basically not letting Christians get out. We should do another video showing, remember Obama laughing last year going, oh, we can't let the Christians out. We can't just take care of them. No, he's blocking them on purpose because he is a closet Islamicist. It's been proven.
Yeah. Well, and hopefully those numbers will change now that Donald Trump is choosing the refugees. But
like you said, the Christians can't go to the refugee camps to begin with because they'll be killed by the religion of peace. Yeah,
that's true. Well, listen, Alex, I appreciate you spreading the word about this, and thank you for your kind words. We're going to keep up this fight because it's the one group it's okay to demonize in Western civilization is Christians, and it ought not to be that way. And I know you stand up for their civil rights, and we do too, my friend. Absolutely. Well, folks can find out more, again, at therebel.media. And I absolutely, for the Nightly News, want to get you back on and review some of the boil down or highlights of the amazing videos you've got posted. This is real journalism and dangerous. So thanks for doing that, Ezra Levant. Thank you, my friend.